on that. Say that this is basically what Israel has proposed or accepted. Of course, there's criticism within Israel as well. It's not a monolithic country. I mean, are you sure that Israel can follow through on this? That if Hamas says yes, that considering the coalition politics and the politics within Netanyahu's cabinet, that Israel would definitely go ahead with this?
So I certainly can't speak to internal Israeli politics, complicated enough for Israelis to speak to without the United States trying to weigh into them. I would say two things. Number one, this is a proposal from the Israeli government. So that's the first thing that's important. But number two, I think it is important to speak to the benefits of this proposal to all Israelis. And that's why you saw the president do it on Friday. It's why you've seen the secretary speak to some of these same themes and issues a number of times, including in Israel. And I will say the point that the president made in his remarks on Friday that you've seen the secretary say a few times is that endless conflict in Gaza in pursuit of some idea of total victory is not going to make Israel safer. We agree with Israel that Hamas cannot run Gaza. We agree with Israel on Israel's right and Israel's obligation to pursue Hamas for the terrorist attacks of October 7th. But an endless conflict without a political plan forward is just going to leave Israel bogged down in Gaza, and it's going to exacerbate the security challenges that they face in the north of Israel. It's going to exacerbate the security challenges they face in the West Bank. It's going to exacerbate the security challenges they face against Iran and the proxies that it funds, because it makes it more difficult for Israel to work with its allies and its partners in the neighborhood. So in addition to the long-term security interests that we think this proposal would help address, in addition to bringing the hostages home, which is obviously in the national interest of Israel, it addresses the very real short, medium security challenges that they face, and that's why we think it's in their interest, and that's the case that we will continue to make. But the president was pretty clear about this, that we recognize there are people in Israel, including the Israeli government, that oppose it, and we're going to continue to make that case, and we expect that the government of Israel will too.
Can I just follow up on two things with that? First of all, in the proposal itself, I mean, in the president's remarks, he was saying that Hamas basically can't do another October 7th attack. In terms of what's the assessment for that? What's the basis for that? Is there anything else that needs to be done to ensure that outcome? Basically, would Hamas need to more formally lay down some arms? Is there some sort of settlement that would be involved to make sure that that's the case?
So let me separate two parts of that question, because I think they're slightly different. One is just a question of capability, and Hamas clearly does not have the capabilities it had on October 7th when it launched that horrific terrorist attack. It has seen its leadership degraded, not all, but significantly degraded. It has seen a great deal of its personnel killed or captured. It has seen a great deal of its military materiel destroyed, and not just the weapons themselves, but the underground factories that they were using to produce more weapons that they used on October 7th. Those have been, in many cases, destroyed by Israel. So it is, in many ways, an incredibly diminished organization from the one that it was on October 7th, and we do not believe could conduct an attack anything like the scale and scope that did on October 7th. Now, it still poses a threat. Absolutely. Hamas launched rockets against Israel just last week, and Israel needs to continue to have the ability to defend itself against that threat. But this goes to the point that we ultimately think you cannot address this threat with just a military solution. This is what I was getting to the other day when I said this idea of pursuing a total victory, which the president spoke to. That just a military campaign in itself, while it will, without a doubt, continue to kill and capture members of Hamas, is also going to serve as a recruitment device for other potential Hamas members that will come and join and replenish the ranks. And so you have to have not just a military campaign, but a political path forward as well. And that is, to get around to the second part, or what I deemed is the second part of your question, what the secretary and other members of the administration have been working on with other partners in the region since intensively since early January. And that is a political path that provides for the reconstruction of Gaza, a political path for the security of Gaza. And so when you look at this proposal, obviously the first phase is for the immediate release of some hostages and a ceasefire. And then during phase 1, you would negotiate phase 2, and in phase 2 and in phase 3, we would pursue what we've termed the day after, and it's how you ultimately come up with a different governing authority for Gaza that is not Hamas. And I'll just make clear, in case there's any question, when the Secretary gave a speech in November in Tokyo, he made quite clear that one of the principles that we see for the end of this conflict is that Hamas cannot continue to govern Gaza, period, full stop. Sorry for the incredibly long answer.
That's okay. Do you want to just proceed actually just one thing that's slightly different, but just in the proposal, just the language major population centers that the Israelis would withdraw from that. Is there actually a list of what the major population centers are, or is there some wiggle room? Could this be something that could become a point of contention in the future?
So it just means what it means, which is major population centers, and partly that is because the population of Gaza has been fluid, or where the population of Gaza has been fluid over the past months, because you've seen people move from one place to another. So it means major areas in Gaza where you have people gathered together. And so that's the point of it. I don't want to get into it any more from here, but we think the term is fairly obvious.